Hi, my name is Fai. I'm from Singapore. So I'm going to show you or share with you a project that I've been doing for the last 4 years. And basically it's called Prospectus for a Future Body. And what I'm interested in is basically the idea of the body and technology. So when I start a project, I always ask myself a few questions. So one of the first questions I ask is, can we design future memory for the body? And if that's possible, is the body itself the apparatus for remembering cultural processes? So I was looking at the body in the terms that we embody certain cultural memories in ourselves. One of the inspiration for the starting point of the project is this image. It is a famous experiment by Italian physician Luigi Galvani, where he discovered animal electricity. What does that mean? Basically, it's saying that actually the human body or animal body has the electric currents that flows through us. So the experiment goes like this. So he has 2 metal rods and he touched at different ends of the frog leg and the muscle twitch. So basically it's the effect of a positive and negative charge. And that brings me to look at the idea of the muscle. So if we want to look at a single muscle cell, it looks something like this. And it has the tendon, and it's connected through various multiple muscles. And if we extract a single muscle cell out, it looks something like this. If we put this under a microscope, this is how a single cell looks like. And there's a nerve that's connected to it. So when you pinch it or when you pull it, the muscle contracts. And if we replace this pinching action with, let's say, an electronic circuit, so basically you give an electric charge to the nerve, like this, and you close the circuit, it has the same effect. It contracts the muscle. So this is what we call electrical nerve stimulation. So I was thinking if we could apply electrical charge to a single muscle cell, that means it's possible that we can apply to a group of muscle cells. So for example, this movement like this, where it's made of maybe 100 over small muscle cell, and then when we apply it, it could, in theory, give the effect of movement, contracting and extending your muscle. So then I went on further to do more research to look at the history of electrical nerve stimulation. So one of the earliest example, I did like a survey over the last 100, 200 years. I will just highlight some of the example. So one of the earliest example is Stephen Gray in London. He demonstrated the idea of a static electricity. So what happens is he hangs this boy into mid-air so it's not touching the ground, and he electrically charged the leg. So for example, if you give a negative charge, the hand will have a positive charge. So he used the body as an electrical conductor. So with the positive charge on the hand, it can attract metal particles. So in that case, it's like gold leaf. So moving on, in the 1800s, Giovanni Aldini, who demonstrated the idea of animal electricity. Basically, he's the nephew of Luigi Galvani. So what happens is he take like a prisoner corpse and cut up the body, and he tried to use electric stimulation to reanimate this body. So the idea was to bring back the animal or the human back to life, but of course now we know it's not possible. But it's the idea behind where your heart stops and you go to the emergency where they try to reanimate your heart. And closer to us in the 20th century, artists start to use all this electrical nerve stimulation. So for example, 1997, Arthur Elsner, American or Canadian artist, where he tried to use electric stimulation to stimulate different parts of the face. So his idea was to find out what is the possibility of human expression by sort of electrically stimulating it. So inspired by all this project, I make a first prototype called Eternal Summer Storm. Eternal Summer Storm is actually looking at a Buto dance from Japan. So Tatsumi Hijikata was the founder of Buto dance, and he did the performance Summer Storm in 1973 in Kyoto. So that was the last time he made a public performance that was filmed. So the idea was looking at how can we look at the documentation of movement, dance, or culture in a different or alternative way. So what I did was I tried to map movement, body movement from one person to another. I'll show you a video. So what happens here is basically I have a muscle sensor on my right arm. So I'm trying to map my right arm movement from myself to my friend. So my friend has the mapping point of the electrode, of the electric stimulation. So then it gave me the idea, if I can do this as a live transfer of movement, that means I could record this memory. So I call them movement data or digital movement data. And if that's possible, you could create a library of movement data. So for example, it's like your iTunes. You have a library of collection of movement or dance move. So I use Hijikata to stimulate this idea and repeatedly teach myself moving like Hijikata. So by piecing various parts of this somersault choreography and repeatedly teaching myself, conditioning my muscle to know this memory, I actually recreated a section of a somersault 30 years after 1972. So the idea was really, there's a lot of question. So a lot of the ideas or the work I do or the experiments start to question certain things. In for example, this case is the idea of how do we document. Normally we use the audiovisual convention where we try to learn from the master, but now it's really you could actually feel how the muscle is moving and you transfer this idea or culture from one body to another in a different time and space. And later on, I start to look at what if I could really design a system to do all this choreographic control. So what happens is I try to test on myself. So I put all these electrodes, and then to look at ways that I can control myself. So it's almost like composing music. You have different layers, but I become like a human VJ. So these are the various ways that I control myself, and there's a short video. And then after testing on myself, I try to test on more friends. So I get a little bit more ambitious. I test on 4 big guys. And actually, these 4 guys who is like muscle man, they're actually quite scared of this process. So instead, I find young girls to carry on the experience. So in Laban, in London, the dance school, I find 4 dancers who are actually quite happy. You can see the reaction.
Oh my God!
They're actually smiling. Yeah, so the last part of this series is actually called dance fiction. Basically, I'm looking at the notation of different choreographic ideas. So I look at, for example, 100 years of dance history. But the idea is very simple, that what if I could take 15 seconds of each choreographer and implant it into one dancer? So I call this a digital muscle memory implant, which is totally not scientific at all. So you generate a 3D data like how Hollywood does the film. So for example, this is Yvonne Rainer. And with this 3D model, you can actually pinpoint what stimulation to send to the body. So this is an example. So I have this subject that I actually start to implant like multiple choreography from the Eastern to the Western and from the traditional to the contemporary. And the interesting part is also there's this idea of a hybrid muscle memory. So for example, you can split out this muscle memory. You can have a traditional Thai dancer on the left body, and then you have Merce Cunningham, this American choreographer, on the right body. So in a way, it's a way a tool to look at how we do all these choreographic processes. So at the end, I would like to show you a short demonstration. So this is the demonstration that I'm going to do here on myself first. Need some time to put this on. So just do the left and right arm. So let me test the signal. Oh, this is here, if you can see. So the second channel is this one. And this is, accident always happens. So maybe can I ask, I convinced two victims from the team, from the TED team. So basically I want them to control me first. So basically, yes, Sharon, thank you. There's 4 buttons that you can push, and basically you can look at how I respond. You can go high. Yeah, you can keep it on. Yeah, I'm all right. Okay. It's all right, because I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm used to it now. But can I try it on you? And you? Okay. Let me see. So I'm trying to. Is you? Yeah? You just relax. Just relax. Yeah. It's all right. And then. You. You. So if I want to lift their arm together at the same time, it could be something like, okay, don't move too far. Right? It's like. think it's enough. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.